Market Mantra. Market Mantra. Market Mantra. Market Mantra. Market Mantra. Market Mantra.
Good evening, listeners. Welcome to the Friday edition of Market Mantra, the program in which we give you a complete update on the economic, business and stock market news of the day. I am Sonu Sood and with me is my co-anchor in Hindi, Harsh Ranjan.
नमस्कार, हाजिर हैं मार्केट मंत्र के एक और ताजा अंक के साथ। इस कार्यक्रम में देश विदेश की आर्थिक खबरों का जायजा लेते हैं। साथ ही हम नजर डालेंगे प्रमुख घरेलू और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय शेयर बाजारों के उतार चढ़ाव पर और खबरों की बारीकियों पर चर्चा करने के लिए आज हमारे साथ स्टूडियो में उपलब्ध हैं ए.के. भट्टाचार्य, जो एडिटोरियल डायरेक्टर हैं बिजनेस स्टैंडर्ड के। मिस्टर भट्टाचार्य, आपका स्टूडियो में बहुत बहुत स्वागत है।
नमस्कार।
Now let's begin today's edition of Market Mantra with the headlines in English.
Thank you, Harsh. The index of 8 core industries increases by 3.6% in March 2023 as compared to the index of March 2022. Key domestic indices log gains of more than 0.75%. Sensex closes above 61,000 mark. Nifty settles above 18,000 level. The rupee closes at 81 rupees 83 paise against the US dollar and Brent crude rose 0.5% to $79 per barrel.
8 कोर उद्योगों के सूचकांक में मार्च महीने में साल दर साल आधार पर 3.6% की बढ़ोतरी। घरेलू शेयर बाजारों में आज तेजी, सेंसेक्स 61,000 और निफ्टी 18,000 के पार। रुपए की कीमत में मामूली 1 पैसे की बढ़ोतरी, $1 की कीमत 81 रुपए 83 पैसे रही और ब्रेंट क्रूड की कीमतों में आधे प्रतिशत की बढ़ोतरी, प्रति बैरल $79 हुई।
First, the top story of the day. The combined index of 8 core industries, ICI, increased by 3.6% in March 2023 as compared to the index of March 2022. The production of coal, fertilizers, steel, natural gas and refinery products increased in March 2023 over the corresponding month of last year. ICI measures combined and individual performance of production of 8 core industries with coal, crude oil, natural gas, refinery products, fertilizers, steel, cement and electricity. The 8 core industries comprise 40.27% of the weight of items included in the Index of Industrial Production, IIP. What would you say, Dr. Bhattacharya, this 3.6% core growth in March 2023, is it a heartening figure? How do you see it?
Well, if you look at the March figure, you will not call it a heartening figure, but you have to look at it from a larger perspective. This 3.6% March growth figure comes on the back of around 7% growth in February. And if you look at the entire the financial year 22-23 performance, the core sector, and which you said accounts for around 40% of India's industrial output measurement. So it's a big indicator of what kind of industrial growth you will see in March. That figure will come very soon, a few days from now, which is around 7.6%. So which means the full year, India's core sector performed at 7.6%, which is not a very bad performance, given the fact that there were pressures on all these areas because of demand as well as investment still fructifying in higher economic activity. So that is the right way, in my view, to look at the core sector's performance.
So if we take a broad outlook for the coming year also, do you see the 7-8% being, that performance coming again in the current financial year?
My reading is that the way the government has been spending money on capital expenditure for 3 years running, you will see some sort of renewed push or a bigger push to the core sector performance in the current financial year. But it will be working on a higher base. So therefore the challenges of repeating this performance at the same level or at a higher level will be a little more. A lot of this will depend on what kind of international crude oil prices, how they fare. Right now, it seems that the domestic, the OPEC price cut, the production cut, is not having that kind of an impact on prices. In a sense, the prices are still remaining quite moderate. The Russian crude oil prices will have an impact. So, on the whole, I would say that this augurs well for the current year, and India's infrastructure sector should continue to provide some room for opportunity on expediting growth of India's economic activity.
और ये जो फिगर्स 3.6% के हैं, ये अभी प्रोविजनल फिगर है. थोड़ा सा इसमें अभी फाइनल फिगर्स आएंगे तो करेक्शन होगा. जैसे कि हमने देखा कि दिसंबर 2022 में भी रिवाइज होके इट वेंट फ्रॉम 7.4% टू 8.3%. और एक भी अगर हम इंडस्ट्री वाइज बात करें तो ये जो फिगर आए हैं कोल की आप देखें, जिसका वेट 10+% है, इसमें सबसे ज्यादा 12.2% की बढ़ोतरी हुई है. कुछ ऐसी इंडस्ट्रीज भी हैं जिसमें डिक्लाइन हुआ है, लाइक क्रूड ऑयल डिक्लाइन बाय 2.8%, और नेचुरल गैस में हालांकि उतनी ही 2.8% की बढ़ोतरी है. और कुछ डिक्लाइन वाले और इंडस्ट्री हैं, ये सीमेंट को हम मान लें डिक्लाइन है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी में डिक्लाइन है, और फर्टिलाइजर्स में 9.7% और स्टील में 8.8%. तो कोल, फर्टिलाइजर और स्टील इसमें ठीक ठाक बढ़ोतरी है, कुछ इंडस्ट्रीज में डिक्लाइन है.
जरूर
संभव है.
ये आपने बहुत अच्छा एक सवाल उठाया है. जो कोयले की जो आपने बात की, कोयले का जो संपर्क जो है हमारी जो पावर डिमांड के साथ जुड़ी हुई है, और हमने देखा है कि जो पावर की डिमांड इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी के बढ़ने से, अगर पिछले साल हमारी जीडीपी की वृद्धि अगर 7% हुई है, तो कोयले की डिमांड में भी वृद्धि आनी चाहिए, और वही ये आंकड़े दिखा रही हैं. जो फर्टिलाइजर में जो डिक्लाइन हुई है उससे मैं ज्यादा चिंतित नहीं हूं, क्योंकि नैनो फर्टिलाइजर के इस्तेमाल से हम ये देखेंगे, और अगले सालों में ये देखना मिलेगा कि फर्टिलाइजर की जो वॉल्यूम डिमांड जो है, और ये वॉल्यूम फिगर्स हैं, वैल्यू फिगर्स नहीं है, ये जो वॉल्यूम फिगर्स जो हैं वो उसमें आप देखेंगे कि फर्टिलाइजर की डिमांड घटती रहेगी, क्योंकि जो 1 किलो फर्टिलाइजर से जो काम आता था, वो वही 1 किलो फर्टिलाइजर वो बहुत ज्यादा उर्वरक के रूप में काम देता है. और तीसरी बात, जो कच्चे तेल की जो बात की आपने, वो एक चिंता का विषय है, क्योंकि हमने ये देखा है कि ये पिछले साल में हमारी जो आयात के ऊपर निर्भरशीलता वो बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ गई है. वो करीबन एक साल पहले वो करीबन 85% थी, इस वक्त वो 89 और 90% की करीब आ गई है. तो मिला जुला तस्वीर है, पर ऑन द होल मैं समझता हूं 7.6% की वृद्धि दर साल के लिए
काफी संतोषजनक. हालांकि एक मासूम सा सवाल आपसे ये जरूर होगा कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में जब भी बढ़ोतरी होती है, इस बार के बजट में भी इंफ्रा पे काफी सरकार ने एलोकेशन बढ़ाया है अपना 10 लाख करोड़ से ज्यादा. स्टील में हम देख रहे हैं कि इंक्रीज है 8.8% का, लेकिन साथ ही सीमेंट में डिक्लाइन है 1% से थोड़ा कम का 0.8. तो स्टील का तो इस्तेमाल हो रहा है, लेकिन सीमेंट का कम थोड़ा सा शो हो रहा है.
जरूर. और सीमेंट में जो आपकी जो कैपेसिटी जो है, वो कैपेसिटी यूटिलाइजेशन अभी भी काफी धीमी चल रही है, और कैपेसिटी ज्यादा है और प्रोडक्शन उतना नहीं बढ़ रहा है. और इस बार जो सीमेंट का जो कंस्ट्रक्शन एक्टिविटी में थोड़ा एक धीमापन होने से सीमेंट के ऊपर एक एडवर्स इम्पैक्ट जरूर नजर आया.
So, Mr. Bhattacharya, would you say that there is a seasonal variation also in these numbers, and probably 1 month's figures are not reflection?
I couldn't agree with you more on this. The core sector have to be read not month by month, but by taking an entire quarter or full year, which is why I was referring to the figure of 7.6% for the full financial year of 22-23. If you look at 1 month figure, for example, in the months of July, August, September, you will find that the cement production in the core sector will come down dramatically.
Because of monsoon.
Because of monsoon, the construction activity completely comes to a halt. So therefore, it is reasonable not to look for monthly figures, rather look at the quarterly figures and better still, you should look at the annual figures.
And although we should not focus too much on monthly figures, but if we see electricity is a basic product, basic intangible product which touches the lives of every citizen of the country and the industry. Now that has declined by 1.8%. Would you say that's not a cause for worry? Has it plateaued?
It is on a very high base.
Yeah.
Electricity in the month of February was growing by 11%, double digit. So it's and March is also a month where your natural, if you look at go to any domestic house also, you will find that the electricity bill is the lowest in March.
Because ना इसमें heater चलाते हैं ना geyser
So
चलाते
therefore,
हैं
that March is a month that where your electricity demand is always at the lowest. You will compare it with the June figure, you will see a dramatic rise.
Yeah, when the bill comes, we'll get a happy surprise.
Absolutely.
तो ये हम अब मान लेते हैं कि चूंकि 40% से ज्यादा इन 8 जो कोर इंडस्ट्रीज हैं इनका कंट्रीब्यूशन है आईआईपी फिगर्स में, तो अब आईआईपी के फिगर्स हमारे जो आने वाले होंगे वो बेहतर होंगे। और शेयर बाजारों पर एक नजर डालते हैं। भारतीय शेयर बाजारों में आज लगभग 0.25% का उछाल रहा है। बॉम्बे स्टॉक एक्सचेंज का सेंसेक्स 463 अंक बढ़ा है और 61,112 पर बंद हुआ। नेशनल स्टॉक एक्सचेंज का निफ्टी 150 अंक की बढ़त के साथ 18,065 पर रहा। विस्तारित बाजारों की बात करेंगे। बीएसई मिड कैप इंडेक्स 1.32% और स्मॉल कैप इंडेक्स 0.91% बढ़ा है और 30 शेयरों वाले सेंसेक्स में 24 शेयर आज बढ़े हैं और 6 में गिरावट रही है। सोनू।
Yes, the key domestic indices today witnessed gains of more than 0.5%. The BSE Sensex closed above 61,000 mark, while the NSE Nifty settled above 18,000 level. Both stocks were up due to mixed clues from global share markets. The Sensex added 463 points or 0.76% to finish at 61,112. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange also rose 150 points or 0.84% to end at 18,065. In the broader market at the BSE, the mid-cap index rose 1.32% and the small-cap index added 0.91%. In the Sensex index, which is a pack of 30 companies, shares of 24 firms rose while 6 fell. Wipro and Nestle India both climbed 2.9% each. Larsen & Toubro rose 2.6%. On the other hand, Axis Bank plunged 2.4%. Titan and HCL both slumped 0.7% each. In sectoral indices at BSE, all sectors logged gains except consumer durables, which logged losses of 0.3%. The telecom index surged 2.4% and capital goods sector rose 1.7%. Both services and industrial sectors gained 1.5% each. The overall market breadth was positive as shares of 2,179 companies advanced, while those of 1,314 companies declined. A total of 136 shares remained unchanged. Mr. Bhattacharya, if you look at this week, it has been a very good week for the markets. 1,457 points rise in Sensex. How do you see this? What do you think has buoyed the markets, changed the sentiment to such positivity?
Well, I think there are a couple of factors here. One is that today's rally, you must recognize that it is a broad-based rally. It is actually the broader market, as you also pointed out, the mid-cap segment, the small cap segment, they have risen much more. So they were slightly laggards in the last few sessions, and I think they made good the losses or the tepid performance that you saw in the earlier part of the week. One of the reasons, in my view, why the stock markets have notched gains of this levels is certainly the expectation that the foreign inflows will have revived, and they have already started coming into the Indian market. And as you always know, that you will know that when the foreign money is coming and chasing Indian stocks, the stock prices see a rise. Along with that, some positive bit of news in terms of the economic growth prospects. There are indications that yes, there would be statistically there would be a deceleration from maybe 7% last year to around 6.5 or 6.8%, but that growth will still keep the Indian economy revving up and keeping the pot boiling, as so to say. If you look at the global players, if you look at China, if you look at Europe, if you look at even US, whose first quarter performance has just come out at 1.5%, 1.1% actually. GDP growth. And China is come out with 3.5%. You will see that the Indian the growth story is still very much intact. I think the stock market is recognizing that. There's only one area of concern for the stock market, which is the consumer durable sector. And I think today's market, if you look at it, you will see that apart from consumer durables, every other segment has notched up gains. And consumer durables is largely because of the rural sector demand has not yet picked up. And that is probably one worry which is hanging heavy even on the stock market, and which is why the consumer durables whose sales depend, the incremental sales depend a lot on the rural India, and that is showing signs of tepidity.
So you feel in that context monsoon is very important, how the monsoon fares this year?
Well, monsoon has always been very, very important in the Indian economy, economic performance, or the stock market's behavior. And this year, what you will see is that if the rains are good, then certainly it will have a positive impact, because if agriculture does well, so far the signs are that the agriculture might weather the minor shortfall in rainfall that the IDB has predicted. Yes, certainly the monsoons will play a role, particularly in a market which is recovering itself from the relative uncertainties of last year.
और मिस्टर भट्टाचार्य, हमारे एक तो मार्केट में मैं ये भी फैक्टर देखता हूं कि पोस्ट कोविड हमारा जो डोमेस्टिक रिटेल इन्वेस्टर है उनका बहुत ह्यूज बेस बढ़ा है. काफी नए लोगों ने डीमैट अकाउंट खुलवाए और इन्वेस्टमेंट जारी रखा. एक तो मार्केट को वो बहुत बैलेंस देता है. साथ ही जिस बात की चर्चा आप कर रहे थे कि FIIs आ रहे हैं, एक बार फिर से शुरू हुआ है, क्या वजह है इसकी, जबकि हम लगातार ये मान रहे थे कि जैसे जैसे यूएस फेड अपने रेट्स बढ़ाता रहेगा, या इंडिया में भी ये चीजें थी, लोग थोड़ा मार्केट से दूर होकर सेफ इन्वेस्टमेंट की तरफ जाएंगे, लेकिन बावजूद इसके मार्केट में एक इतनी रौनक, इतनी तेजी, ये दिखाती है कि भारत काफी स्टेबल है, स्थिर है.
देखिए, दो तीन फैक्टर हैं. एक तो है कि जो यूएस का जो हार्डनिंग ऑफ द इंटरेस्ट रेट जो है, वो मार्केट ने उसको अपने जो कैलकुलेशन में उसको बिल्ड इन कर लिया है ऑलरेडी. वो एक्सपेक्टेशन मैनेजमेंट जो होता है मार्केट का, उसने ऑलरेडी उसको उस शॉक को एब्जॉर्ब कर लिया है. तो अब वो इस बेस से ऊपर आगे की ओर देख रहे हैं, और जब आगे की ओर देखते हैं उनको ये नहीं लगता कि ये बहुत बड़ा कोई शॉक आने वाला है. एक उनका जो इंटरेस्ट रेट हार्डन होने का जो न्यूज जो था वो अब उन्होंने एब्जॉर्ब कर लिया है. पहली बात तो ये है. दूसरी बात ये है कि एक इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में एक बहुत बड़ा एक डिस्कशन चल रहा है ये कि किस तरह से जो इमर्जिंग मार्केट की जो इंडेक्स होती है उसमें साउथ कोरिया अभी भी एक इमर्जिंग मार्केट माना जाता है, और बहुत ही जल्दी शायद साउथ कोरिया उस इमर्जिंग मार्केट से बाहर आ जाएगा. अगर साउथ कोरिया इमर्जिंग मार्केट से बाहर आ जाएगा तो इंडिया की जो रेटिंग जो है इमर्जिंग मार्केट इंडेक्स में वो एटलीस्ट 1 या 2 पॉइंट बढ़ जाएगा, और उससे जो इंटरनेशनल पोर्टफोलियो पैसा जो इंडिया की तरफ दिए जाते हैं, एलोकेट किए जाते हैं, उसमें एक बहुत बड़ी एक इंक्रीज आएगी, क्योंकि साउथ कोरिया के ना होने से इमर्जिंग मार्केट में इंडिया एक बहुत बड़ा खिलाड़ी बन जाएगा. तो मैं समझता हूं इसके कारण भी जो इंटरनेशनल पैसा जो है वो इंडिया की ओर आने की एक ज्यादा संभावना है.
तो जी सोनू.
और कंपनी रिजल्ट्स की अगर इफ यू टॉक अबाउट द कंपनी रिजल्ट्स, देन डू यू फील दैट Like last week only we were speaking that the results are not up to expectations. But now we see that in US there is a lot of excitement about the results which are coming out of the major tech firms, be it Alphabet, Meta. So do you think that sometimes the expectations are probably too high, and the expectations can also play a much bigger role than the actual performance, which might be good only?
Well, I think so. I agree with you that the expectations management is a major factor at play here. The expectations were such that the stock markets initially reacted to those. But truth be told, since we last discussed this issue last week, some of the results that have come have surprised on the positive. So you will see that even some of the tech companies, not the top ones, like Wipro, has performed creditably in spite of earlier fears that they might come up with bad news. If you look at even the Reliance results, the full company result, that day we did not discuss the Reliance full results. The Reliance results is actually very, very positive. Even today, the Citibank, Axis Bank result, which has actually pulled down the market a little bit, you will see that Axis Bank has done very well. It is because of its acquisition of the Citibank as a retail business is why the markets have seen that it could have earned more profit, and it did not, because it used that money
to buy
Citibank retail business assets. So, but actually the bottom line is Axis Bank has done very well. So if you look at the banking sector, if you look at the pharma sector, if you look at the consumer non-durable sector, they're all doing better. So I think the market is reflecting that positive sentiment, and yes, the expectations management is a very important play there.
And what do you feel will be the triggers now for the markets? Now that of course the results are still on, the result season is still ongoing. But apart from that, you feel that the meetings next week of US Fed and of Bank of England and European Bank, Central Bank, these will be very crucial to...
Absolutely. I think these two or three meetings will be very crucial. I will add two more elements to this. One is, you also mentioned about the monsoons. We will come to know of further progression of monsoon and the crop sowing and the crop harvesting patterns, at what kind of the go down stocks are they available with the country to manage the demand and manage the free food grain supply system. So that will be a big factor. And the third factor will be the June monetary policy review. Already expectations have built into the stock market that probably this one in June review will also be, there will be a pause. Now, if something else happens,
maybe
then
you
will say, if there's a cut, then the market will go further higher up, because the cost of money should further come down. If inflation remains moderate as it is now, already it is around between 5 and 5.5. Now, if it comes down a little, which a lot of people expect they will, you will see the Monetary Policy Committee reacting positively, and that might give you a further trigger. So there are 3 or 4 such triggers that will determine the course of the stock market movements in the coming weeks.
और डोमेस्टिक मार्केट के साथ एक नजर हम डाल लेते हैं कि एशियन और यूरोपियन मार्केट और साथ ही यूएस मार्केट में क्या हो रहा है। तो एशियाई बाजारों में तो आज बढ़त रही है, हालांकि सिंगापुर बाजार का स्ट्रेट्स टाइम्स इंडेक्स 0.4% गिरा है, लेकिन बाकी बाजारों में बढ़ोतरी रही है। जापान के निकेई सूचकांक में 1.4% की बढ़ोतरी रही। चीन का शंघाई कंपोजिट इंडेक्स 1.1% बढ़ा, जबकि हांगकांग के हैंगसेंग में 0.3% की तेजी रही है। यूरोपीय बाजार अभी कारोबार कर रहे हैं और इस समय कारोबार में थोड़ी सी गिरावट देखी जा रही है। लंदन का FTSE 100 और जर्मनी का डैक्स 0.22% की गिरावट पर चल रहे हैं, जबकि फ्रांस का CAC 40 थोड़ी सी गिरावट पर है।
And if we talk of the U.S. markets, the tech-heavy companies' performance in NASDAQ led to a Wall Street rally after strong financial clues from tech giants. The financial performance of these tech giants pushed Wall Street despite concern of slowing U.S. economic growth. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 1.6%, the S&P 500 rose 2%, and the Nasdaq Composite climbed 2.4%. Mr. Bhattacharya, mixed signals from U.S. The company results have been good from tech giants. At the same time, the U.S. economic growth is slowing. As you said, it's around 1%, 1.1%. But when there is talk of recession, you feel that growth will also, be a relief?
Well, compared to the earlier fears of recession, U.S. economy holding up still at 1.1% growth is certainly a cause for relief for the markets, which is why you are seeing this. The second cause for relief is the job market is still very, very tight. You are not seeing the kind of unemployment that one had earlier feared. In generally, what you are seeing in the U.S. is that compared to the earlier fear that there will be recession and there will be unemployment rate will go up, you are not seeing those negative fallout of a post-COVID and the Ukraine crisis impacting the U.S. economy. So the markets are just responding positively to those movements.
And briefly, the root cause inflation, do you think that is also plateauing the world over, or is it still an issue for concern?
I don't think it is plateauing because the core inflation is still very, very sticky. The core inflation is the inflation of products which are not of a seasonal character, which means we are excluding food and fuel. The core inflation is still not in a very situation where any monetary policy planner will be very happy about. And this is true of the global economy as well as the Indian economy. The fact of the matter is that at least 15 years of easy money policy will have to see some outcome in terms of liquidity and inflation remaining elevated, and this is what exactly we are doing it, which is why Mr. Jeremy Powell is so firm that he must bring it down to 2.5% by hook or by crook, even though it means temporary pain for the US.
और रुपए के फ्रंट पर भी आज अच्छी खबर है। कीमत में रुपए के 1 पैसे की मामूली बढ़ोतरी रही है। $1 की कीमत 81 रुपए 83 पैसे रही और MCX में आज सोने का कारोबार 130 रुपए की गिरावट पर हुआ। 10 ग्राम सोने की कीमत 59,775 रुपए रही। चांदी की कीमत भी 220 रुपए की गिरावट के साथ 73,740 रुपए प्रति किलो रही और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय बाजारों में प्रति औंस सोने की कीमत $1,992 रही, जबकि चांदी की कीमत में भी गिरावट रही और ये $25.05 पर रही।
Udhar, moving on in commodities, oil prices today rose 0.5%. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading at around $79 per barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude was at $75.05 per barrel when reports last came in. Crude oil, how much of a problem is the prices of crude oil? You feel that U.S., the uncertainty regarding U.S. interest rates, inflation, that could work to our advantage and keep the oil prices in check?
What it will keep be to our advantage is these benchmark prices, certainly. But remember that we are moving away from these benchmark crude purchases. 40% of India's oil is now coming from the Russian crude oil Ural. Now, when you have a 40% market share of your total requirement of 90%, is coming from Russian Ural, which is not getting captured in this Brent crude oil price. So today's analysis on the crude oil price impacting the Indian economy should bear in mind that we are probably less impacted by movements in Brent crude oil than in the past. We were almost to the tune of around 80 to 90% we are dependent on Brent crude oil prices. Now it has come down to almost 60%. So that, to my mind, is a very important factor when we are judging the movement of Brent crude and how it is impacting the Indian economy and Indian cost of importing that crude oil.
So you feel the Russian oil would also go through fluctuations?
They will go through a fluctuation because they have already crossed that $60 a barrel cap, and that is becoming a problem for the Indian energy planners.
आज के लिए मार्केट मंत्रा में इतना ही, समय खत्म हो रहा है। मिस्टर भट्टाचार्य, आप स्टूडियो में आए, आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
नमस्कार।
And before we leave, the headlines once again. The index of 8 core industries increases by 3.6% in March 2023 as compared to the index of March 2022. Key domestic indices log gains of more than 0.75%. Sensex closes above 61,000 mark. Nifty settles above 18,000 level. The rupee closes at 81 rupees 83 paise against the US dollar, and Brent crude rose 0.5% to $79 per barrel. That's all we have for you in Market Mantra today. We'll see you at same time tomorrow. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Market Mantra.